I have made a final table and I've got all of the chips. What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another World Series of Poker vlog. So our trip here in Las Vegas is coming to an end, but not before we play a bunch more tournaments, including the World Series of Poker main event. And after a pretty lucrative first half of the trip, I was looking forward to continuing the heater and hopefully get some more deep runs, starting with the $1,600 Bet MGM Championship at the area. So, last hand before break, I'm in the big blind, 3k big blind, so post 3k big blind and ante, which is important here. Then we go on break, right? I come back from break, I come back 20 seconds late, 20 seconds into the new level, right? And I'm in the big blind again. This time, obviously, blinds have gone up, so it's 4k big blind. And I'm like, hang on, I stop the dealer and say, it was big blind last hand. So, there's nothing we can do. I'm like, call the fucking floor. Call the floor, and they say, significant action has taken place. 3 people have folded. And I'm like, the button hasn't fucking moved, right? I can't be in the big blind, so I thought, there's nothing we can do about it. One guy at my table was like, get a second opinion. Get another floor guy, it's just like, yeah, I just agree with this guy. Like, significant action has taken place. So I'm in the fucking big blind twice. So I turn to the table, and I say, you're telling me none of you fucking clocked? 7 of you didn't clock that the button hadn't moved. And they're just like, and then one guy has the audacity to say, you should have been here on time. So I got fucked by 9 people in that one hand. 7 people that didn't clock where the fucking button was. 1 dealer and 2 floor staff making a bullshit ruling. Significant action has taken place. So I end up paying, I've got a 10 big blind stack, that's why I'm so fucking tilted. So it affects my bust out hand. Instead of paying at the new level 1.5 big blinds, I'm paying 3.5 big blinds from a 10 big blind stack, which affects my decision when I have Queen 8 off in the fucking small blind. Second to last level of the day. 9 people had to either be retarded or just straight scummy and just be like, yeah, you know what, dead big blind, fuck it, I'm not going to say the button wasn't here. 7 people at the table, man. Fuck off. So, as you can see, the 1600 went pretty well. Nah, in all honesty though, I kind of overreacted here, I think. I did actually apologise to the dealer and the floor staff because I was pretty out of line with the way I spoke to them. But the funniest part about all of this is the very next day, I find myself coming back to the area to play the $1,600 PLO. Fortunately, this one did go a little bit better. I doubled twice, I think, throughout the day, both times with double suited aces. I managed to bag up 195k from a 40k starting stack. So day 2, we were already in the money, having locked up $2,200, but playing for a top prize of $220,000. We start the day with about 25 bigs. I lose a couple of small pots, I think, in the early orbits. Soon after, I pick up a pretty janky aces. I decide to open to 17k. Blinds are 4k, 8k at this point. But I think this is a mistake. So I've noticed in live PLO tournaments, there's very little 3-betting that goes on without specifically ace-ace XX. But I've noticed people tend to isolate limps a bit more. So I think with this hand, I can limp raise. And then when we have more connected aces hands, like ace-ace, king-10 double suited, we can raise. This way we can just try and get as much money in as we can pre-flop, because this type of hand is kind of janky, kind of disconnected, so it doesn't play that well. In any case, I do raise and we go 3-way. The board comes 10-9-6 with a couple of spades. I end up check folding the flop, which kind of highlights why I think it's better to limp in this situation. So at this point, we're getting pretty short, but I pick up another sexy looking hand. Under the gun opens to pot, and I decide to flat here. So we are calling 35k from like a 120k stack, which isn't ideal, but I don't think we need to just bang it in against an under the gun range. So in PLO, you can absolutely smash the board, but you can also just completely whiff it. I elect to peel, and the big blind comes along as well. So we do completely whiff. Flop comes down 7-5-3 rainbow. Big blind donks for pot and under the gun rejams, so we happily get out of the way. Turns out the big blind flop 2-pair and holds, and we are very much in the danger zone now with less than 8 big blinds. The very next hand, though, we find a pretty reasonable hand to have with 8 big blinds or so. I announce pot here and raise just under half my stack. Player to our direct left calls, and the remaining players get out of the way. So there are certain boards where I might just have to check fold, so I'm just praying for something just even half decent so I can just comfortably get the other half of my stack in. Flop comes down ace 8-8, which is more than good enough. We stick the rest in and villain snaps it off. He has an inferior ace, which is good news for us, and we turn him dead on the king turn to get a much needed double. And soon after that, we look down at a very reasonable hand under the gun. So I do decide to limp this time, again for similar reasons that I mentioned before, with the intention to limp jam, basically. The cutoff does isolate, and so we stick all of our chips in the middle. We get snapped off, and wouldn't you fucking know it, the cutoff has double suited aces, because what else would somebody raise pre-flop with? The good news is, we flop the nut straight, which gives us a huge lead in the hand, and now Villa needs backdoors. But a spade turn and spade river gives him the backdoor flush, and we bust in 81st place, good for about $3,300. No sense. Good luck, guys. But just as in last week's vlog, the day wasn't over just yet. So I made my way to MGN Grand again, this time for the $1,700 Moneymaker Tour main event. I think I got in with about 80 big blinds, and in the first few orbits I got absolutely gifted. Call a check raise with Queen 10 on King Jack Deuce. I ping an offsuit 9 on the turn for the nuts. We get it in three-way in the turn against a set of deuces and pocket aces, and we hold to scoop a huge pot very early on. Wasn't many interesting hands after this though, and after a pretty long grueling day, I managed to survive the bubble and bag up just shy of 250k for day 2. And pretty soon into day 2, we find ace-9 off in the cutoff with around 12 bigs, jam it in and find ourselves ahead of the big blinds king-queen, but a king on the turn sends us packing in 127th place, good for $3,330. And after a long wait for the payout, MGM is one of the worst places to play tournaments in my opinion. I decided to head to Paris to play some cash games and just unwind for the evening. So I casually flicked into the 50-100 stud 8 or better high-low game. And you might be thinking, Jesus, Weasel, 50 or 100, which is exactly what the missus was thinking when I messaged her. But don't panic, guys, it is the limit. The most you're generally going to lose in one hand is like 1k, and that's if you get coolered. And with it being a high-low split game, a lot of the time you're going to win at least half the pot. Alright, so that got me less tilted. That was actually the most fun I've had playing poker in a long time playing stud. I was 200 down, but I was like 1.5k down at one point. So it feels like a win. I actually got well unlucky early on. I was in a 4-way pot and I had trips on 4th Street, right? And it's 7 cards stud, high-low. One guy basically always has a flush and the other 2 were chasing a low. So I had 3 outs to bow up to scoop the high in a pot that was getting basically jammed on where people bet raise and stuff like that. So it was a fucking huge pot. So I break that one, and then another hand where I had on 5th Street, I had ace-7-7, 5-3, 4 hearts, and it goes brick. So I have outs for the low, I have outs for 2 pair, I have outs for a flush, I've got a flush draw, and it comes like an offsuit 9 and then an offsuit jack, which I don't even want to run the equities, but it's not going to be a lot. So I got pretty unlucky in 2 parts and ended up losing 200 on the session when I was like close to 2k down at some point. So yeah, really enjoying mixed games. Got H.O.R.S.E tomorrow as well, a little bit less tilted, so yeah, reasonable evening. In stud games, everyone does get their own board, so trying to vlog this would be a nightmare, so I didn't bother. But I have been really enjoying mixed games. So much so that I went back to the area the next day for the 3rd day in a row, this time to play the $800 one-day H.O.R.S.E event. So for those that aren't aware, H.O.R.S.E is a mix of 5 different limit games. Each letter represents a different variant. Now the 3 latter games play very different to flop games such as Hold'em and Omaha in that there's no button. I'll spare more details about the games themselves. All you really need to know is this. I have made a final table and I've got all of the chips. So final table at $800 H.O.R.S.E, 3k or something locked up and 36k up top, and all of the chips. One time. And so I had made a second final table at this trip in Vegas. And once again, it happened to be in a variant that wasn't No Limit Hold'em. So obviously prize pools are much smaller in non-Hold'em events in general, but there was a total of 230 runners, which is quite a lot for a horse tournament, creating a prize pool of $161,000, playing for over 30k up top. Alright boys, we are on break. I've just made a final table of the $800 H.O.R.S.E event, and I'm fucking ship leading by chunks as well, man. Put on some dirty, well, not even bad beats, but I just got pretty lucky in a couple of hands. One where I'm showing 7, 8, 9 jack, and I've got ace 5 in stud 8, and then I ping a 6 to scoop the high and the low. So a 6 is the best card. I've got a load of outs against, I think, 2 pair, or it might have even been 1 pair because he sort of cycled off. But yeah, just like, you got lucky to scoop, man. So yeah, happy days. So we've got like 2 million or something. Average, I don't know what average is. I've just gone on break now. I'll try and record what I can, but obviously it's difficult to try and record the hands when you're playing Rise and Stud. Everyone has their own boards, and I can't exactly get my phone out and just record every single hand. So maybe just the all-ins or something. So, but yes, 3.8k locked up, 36k up top. I don't know if there's a trophy yet, but if there is, that's going to make me well more excited. We already win a goodie bag with a hoodie and some other shit in it for making the final table. So yeah, 3.8k locks, I think, 36k up top. Let's fucking get it, boys. So I tried filming what I could. I played a hand quite badly in Limit Hold'em, but pinged an ace on the river to knock out the first victim. And in the same orbit, the guy sat 2 to our left, flops top set and turns a boat. And just like that, we're down to 7. And it's not long before there are 2 more bust outs, and we're down to just 5 players with $7,000 and change locked up. This was a sick one. We complete with a pair of 7s, and the shorty, who was showing a 6, looks at 1 card and raises all in. Obviously, he looked at a 6, but it turned out he had rolled up trips and then pings quads on 6th Street. Talking numbers, I'm the chip leader. Everyone said, like, do you want a chop? I said, one condition, that I'm the chip leader and I get the trophy. That's it. And then they started showing me numbers. They're like, I literally don't care what figure that is. Do I get the trophy? Am I the chip leader? Do I get the trophy? That's it. If so, you got yourself a deal. So talking numbers now. Could get a trophy, boys. That's all I fucking want. So it's kind of funny. One of the younger guys at the table, Ryan, who's a nice lad, said he wanted to ICM chop, but carry on playing for the trophy. And I just said, well, then we're not chopping. And he changed his tune pretty quickly. This is Jay. We like Jay. GG, man, you're going to be in the video. Actually a good player as well. Actually probably a lot better than me, but you know, is what it is. I'll take the trophy. The best to ever do it, boys. Doesn't matter how many cards you give me. And so after a 5-way deal, we take home the trophy and just shy of $23,000 to go with it. For the fucking boys. I am absolutely exhausted. If you see me walking weird, it's because this trophy is the heaviest thing I think I've ever fucking carried with one hand. Oh my god, guys, what a fucking day. I've been playing H.O.R.S E, been playing mixed games since 11:30 this morning. I barely even late reg because I was so excited to play. I put in an absolute fucking shift today. I played my heart out. I really fucking did. Got lucky in a couple of spots where I really needed it. But I absolutely grafted it today. I was in seat 1 all day as well, on both tables, or all 3 tables. Literally always in seat 1, and it's hard because you need to study everybody's cards and stuff. So it's not really a complaint, but like it's... Honestly, I put in such a shift, and there was like some really important hands. Oh my god, guys, I'm fucking rambling, but... thank you for the messages yesterday with the horse. So happy that I won it. Had a feeling throughout the tournament I was basically double average stack for pretty much the entire thing. It was wild. Good run, ran really good, but also played really well. There was one hand in particular in Raz that was sort of the deciding point, which is why I said I played my heart out. So I know no one really gives a shit about mixed games for the most part, but Raz, you obviously make the lowest hand. He's showing on his board like 2, 4, 5, which is obviously really good. And I'm showing, I think I was drawing to an 8-6 low. I had like ace 8-6. I had ace 3. The important thing about this hand is that I kept track of the dead cards. There was 2 aces dead, 1 3 dead, and I had ace 3. And there was no 5s, 4s, or deuces dead, which helped my hand, but also means it's more likely that villain's going to have paired. So pairs are obviously really bad in Raz. So I would have folded that hand had I not been paying attention to all the dead cards, and I think rightfully I should have had to fold because I've seen how equities shift based on literally just a couple of cards that are dead. And to be fair, I got really lucky because he had a 7 low, but I backed into a 6 low when I was playing for like an 8 low. Anyway, thank you for all the support, guys. Last little beerio before I go to bed, and then back tomorrow for the PLN. And that about closes out our third week in Vegas, bringing our total cashes to around $70,000. So the last week or so was just absolute carnage. There was so many day twos, followed by, you know, registering another tournament, followed by another day two, etc, etc. Completely forgot to do an update video like I did in the other vlogs. I was just way too exhausted after playing God knows how many hours of poker. And now we have 1 week left in Vegas, but we've saved the best until last. So in next week's vlog, we will be playing the World Series of Poker main event and hopefully ending the trip with a bang. And I mentioned before, I have been playing some cash games and those vlogs will be coming later in the year. So please guys, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss them. But besides that, I hope you enjoyed this vlog and I will see you guys in the next one.